The radically authentic part of you is the part of you as a human or as a business that exists without the shoulds, the, oh, well, we've tried that before, or who do I think I am? All of those limiting beliefs, all the crap that we put on ourselves. The radically authentic part is the part of you that knows how to connect naturally and is a part of you that's urging you, yelling, screaming at you, whether you can hear it or not, to move closer to your purpose. And you will, if you follow that part, you will always be on path and you always attract who you want.
Welcome to Business Origin Stories. I'm Amy Schutte, your guide to crafting a magnetic message for a profitable business. This is the podcast for you if you're ready to claim the transformative power of your own origin story and use it to create a brand that finally stands out. We're here to level up, but more importantly, I'm here to help you elevate your influence, your community, and your impact on the world. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. And remember, the stories you tell yourself are your greatest currency. Today, I am talking to the most beautiful Aleya Harris, who is trademarked this cute mantra. She calls herself the spark for your spark. She is a trailblazer in purpose-driven story crafting, a marketing executive, and a StoryBrand certified guide, international award-winning speaker, and the founder and lead training of Spark the Stage. She also has a really great podcast called the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast, which she's interviewed me on before, and that was one of my favorite interviews that I have ever done. You're going to love her infectious energy and her incredible advice. Today, she gives us a lot. She dives into some of her proven formulas that work for speaking and story crafting and selling from the stage. We go into all of it today, and Aleya makes a very strong case for why you may want to add speaking to your roster of services. So with that, please welcome Aleya Harris. Aleya Harris, how are you?
I am very, very good. Amy, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being here with me. I can't wait to share you with my audience. I've loved you since the day I saw you at a StoryBrand conference 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. It's been a minute. We're old friends now.
We're old friends. Yeah, we had it was one of those energy things where it was just like, I want to be friends with that girl immediately. So anyway, you are a whole completely different person though since that moment. You've had a baby, you've pivoted, you've done some stuff. I want to talk about all of it. And then we'll dive into some of the new stuff that you're doing, because I think it's going to be really useful for everyone listening. But can you give just a quick elevator pitch of what are you doing now? What's going on with you?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. My name is Aleya Harris. I am a strategic storytelling consultant. Basically, fancy way of me saying that I love talking about stories, creating stories, and helping you use stories to make an impact in your life and your business. I focus on radically authentic stories because authenticity creates differentiation. And I help business leaders overcome communication and differentiation challenges by sharing radically authentic stories that transform workplace culture and carve unique market niches. I like to encapsulate that all by saying that I am the spark for your spark.
And my audience knows I love Spark. I use that as one of my little pillars in my framework. And so you are my spark today. I can't wait for you to spark everyone with all your knowledge. When we first met, you were doing marketing and StoryBrand, and you did some like energy stuff too, which was really fun. Now though, that was such a beautiful elevator pitch. You're like speaking on stages. You're helping other people speak on stages. You're really helping people tell their stories and versions of different stories to help move people towards something. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's still all relatively the same thing. So like the real deal of it was I used to call myself a bioenergetic business consultant, right? I still do energy work in the work that I do, but calling myself a bioenergetic business consultant made people go, "You're a what? That sounds either creepy or too woo, and I think you're cool, but I don't really want to talk to you like that." I shifted the messaging. So I still do marketing from the sense of I'm a fractional CMO for a couple of organizations now, but I still put everything through the lens of story. And then the radically authentic part is I have a superpower, whether I'm actively using energy healing or not, to dig into people and teams and find out what is the underlying either issue or message that we need to tell or we need to let go of in order to reach the people that we're trying to reach. So it all really is relatively the same, packaged a little bit differently. And then as far as speaking is concerned, I've always spoken, but I've been blessed where I've been able to ramp up a lot of it and have it be one of my primary revenue streams as a keynote speaker. And I'm speaking to corporate audiences within their own teams or within associations or even with different conferences putting on stuff, usually all about how to use story for one thing or another. And then I developed the teaching other people to speak part was something I didn't actually want to do. I didn't think I wanted to do it at least. I was like, okay, I am not a selfish person, but right now I need to be super selfish about my speaking for myself, like getting myself on stages. But then I would speak, and then people afterwards would ask me questions about the content, but then they'd, how did you just do that, all of that you just did on the stage? And I was like, well, and then I maybe give like a few tips or tricks. Do you like teach people? I said, no. I don't do that. I think it's great, but I'm not like a speaker coach. Well, fast forward until today, where I do have a program that teaches people how to speak, but it was because I kept getting people to ask me how to do what I do. And the way that I speak on stage is so unique because I was a little bit lazy as a speaker. So I would go in the very beginning of my speaking, I would go to conferences and not really want to watch other people speak. I would go speak and then go kiki it up with my friends over a cocktail or a tea while the rest of the conference was happening. What that did was it allowed me to form my own frameworks, styles, the way I approach speaking, kind of a little bit in a vacuum. And since then I've gone out and, looked around and seen what's out there, but it makes what I do really unique. So that's why I teach it, because I feel like I can add something new to the conversation based on my lazy speakerhood.
I love that. Tell me about radical authenticity and storytelling in general. And I'd like to come back to the speaking piece at the end, because I do know there's a huge need for good speakers. I think a lot of people are starting to, I mean, not everyone, right? Some people are like, I would rather die than get on a stage. But I do feel like there's kind of a new surge of people that are thinking, I have a voice, I have something to say, I just don't know how to do it. So I want to go there, but talk to me first about this radical authenticity and storytelling piece, because I know that's what makes you good as a speaker too. What does that mean to be radically authentic, especially in the business world?
Yeah, I know, right? Especially in the business world is a very good caveat to add to the end of that. So for me, radical authenticity comes from you being very true to who yourself, that is separate from somebody else and what they are offering and bringing to the table. The radically authentic part of you is the part of you as a human or as a business that exists without the shoulds, oh, well, we've tried that before, or who do I think I am? All of those limiting beliefs, all the crap that we put on ourselves. The radically authentic part is the part of you that knows, that is omnipresent, that knows how to connect naturally, and is a part of you that's urging you, yelling, screaming at you, whether you can hear it or not, to move closer to your purpose. And you will, if you follow that part, you will always be on path and you always attract who you want to attract. When it comes to applying that radical authenticity to the workplace, people often like shy away. They're like, I mean, I can't like be like myself. You mean myself? And yeah, that's exactly what I mean. So there is a lot of courageousness that needs to happen, a lot of vulnerability that needs to happen, and a lot of trust that needs to happen to do that. I stumbled across the intersection of the authenticity, which really relates, if you dive underneath it, to soul, spirit, universe. Like there's lots of words we could call that bucket of things. But radical authenticity and storytelling intersect because I asked myself why I was telling the story. So I am a trained storyteller. I've used storytelling recently, actually, with a brokerage company to increase their valuation at sale from 2 million to 51 million. I know how to tell a story. I'm really good at what I do. And in that case, I knew exactly why I was telling a story, and we were diving into the why of them. But in general, when I think about why someone is telling a story and why I should listen to that individual, it's deeper than just knowing how to flex a framework. It's about the everything that happens before, right? What is the life that you've lived? What are the experiences that you have? What are the crises that you've gone through that have gone on, that have given you this transformational experience that you should be sharing with other people? That is the story that you're telling them, right? You're stepping into your role as the storyteller, most likely the guide or the mentor in the story, saying, hey, I've done this, or I've experienced this. I can help you. I can guide you. Here's the plan. Buy from me. But why is that an important part of you to tell? And the more I started asking myself that question, the more I realized that the framework, any storytelling framework, doesn't answer that question. It just gives you how to say it once you know why someone should listen to you. So I'm a firm believer that every single individual has a story to tell, and everyone has value in their story. But if you can't articulate that value, then that's when you begin to stop telling stories because you don't feel like anyone's listening, and they might not be. With my program that I reluctantly started, and now I'm so glad that I did, Spark the Stage, every single person in the beginning that comes in, so far at least, had said some version of, yeah, but does anybody want to hear my story? Is anybody listening? Does my story matter?
Mm-hmm.
And I always say a very definitive yes, because the why of you telling the story is part of your journey. And if you're able to tap into that radically authentic place within you that is pushing you along to help and to serve and to be that guide to somebody else, that is the purpose for you telling this story. And even if your story is about, how you got divorced, or the story is about your kid, the story is about how you fell off a bike as a kid, and there's 5 million other people telling those stories, they're not you in the exact way that you tell the story, and the exact background, the transformation that you had, and why someone, again, should listen to you. So for me, I work at the intersection of the why and the what to make the ultimate product that much more powerful.
So many people come up against that piece of why does it matter, or what does it, I don't know, my stories or whatever. How do you help people find mine those stories that they may be the same as everyone else's, but they will land because there's transformation in place? What's the process you take people through to help them find that, especially when it comes to business? Because I do think the radical authenticity combined with that can be so incredibly powerful and also very hard for all of us. So how are you mining those stories, or what's your framework to be like, okay, CEO, you need to be authentic with your people. Let's find the story. Talk to me.
So it does depend on who we're talking to, but I usually start off with my crisis story framework. So you can go to aleyaharris.com/crisis and download the free framework, but I'm about to tell it to you now. But should you like a visual aid during your experience, you can lend it through that way. But you basically have to start. I take you through the 3 phases that I do most things in, which is getting real, getting clear, and then getting connected. Getting real is all about looking at yourself and seeing what's truly, really, truly there, and the things that you are needing to pay greater attention to. Getting clear is to clarify your own story within yourself, and so that when you get connected, it matches. Because I love, love, love all of the woo-ness and the realness of the stories, and let's kumbaya it out. But if your story is not designed to make you money, and if your purpose doesn't match someone's problem, then that's not a story worth telling, because I am at my heart still a marketer, right? If it were just story time, great, love it, fabulous. But the whole point is to be able to tell stories that build lucrative relationships, which for me is what marketing is all about. So the first step in the getting real is I want you to unearth and delve into your past, figure out what some of those pivotal moments are and those crises that have affected and shaped your journey, and just make a list of them. Jot them all down. It could be anything from losing a job, having a baby, like I said, falling off your bike. And I say falling off your bike because that was actually a real one from someone who joined my Spark the Stage course. And it sounds so little, right? But it was this beautiful story about how when she fell off of her bike and she cut her lip, and I guess it was bleeding, and her older sister was there, and she looked at her with disgust, that for some reason that anchored in as a core memory for her to tell her that she was ugly and not worthy of help, like untouchable, right? And it went through this whole journey for her to come back around, up and down for that. And her whole talk, her signature talk, is about self-worth. So don't discount anything, a big crisis, little crisis. The smallest crises could be the core of your work that you haven't even really identified yet. So jot them all down as a step one, and then look at your list and congratulate yourself, because all of those crises that you've been through, you've gone through them. You're done. Check, they're done. You're still here. You're telling the tale. You're moving forward. You are resilient. And I am proud of you, even though we might not know each other quite yet, because I'm proud of people that are able to be resilient, because being resilient is hard. So you've done hard things already. That in and of itself makes you worthy of telling a story, because you are the type of person who does hard things. And I really appreciate that about people. After you've made that list, you can dive into all of them, or like the top 3 or so that are calling you. And you're going to analyze the crises to see, how they impact your life. And I want you to ask yourself certain questions like, what did I learn from the experience? Because a crisis is kind of just pointless pain if you can't find the lesson that was in it for yourself or for others. I also want you to ask yourself, how did it change my perspective or approach to life? What strengths did I discover in myself during this crisis? And what are the common threads across the crises that are clues to my higher purpose? If you can start to pull out, you either see threads throughout the crisis or you pull out threads in each one, you will start to find not only topics or a topic for a signature talk from stage, but also the ability to get a more authentic starting point. A lot of the times when people start with marketing, they're like, well, what problem does your product solve? Okay, that's great. What problem do you solve? Your service. That's great. That's wonderful. I always like to start at problems as well, but I usually have taken a step back first and said, well, how did we even get here? Why are we solving this problem? Right. And that's usually because, well, the founder of the business started this because, and then that's where the juicy bit is. Now, I'm not saying that that's what your website should have. It should absolutely not. So, well, back in 1925, my grandfather's, no one cares. But when it comes to the crises and the stories and the authenticity, you want to start there to begin to pull things out and to pull things forward. Once you have the crises, then you have the lessons and the morals that came from them. You start to ask yourself, so what? So it's time to take those experiences and mold them into a narrative, and remembering that, every good narrative, no matter how complicated a story structure is, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. All right, let's just start there. And anytime someone's listening to a story, they're asking themselves, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? I like to say that marketers are always talking to narcissists with short attention spans. That's our goal. And even us, you, me, you, Amy, me, Aleya, we are also narcissists with short attention spans. Whenever we're interacting with information, trying to have us make a purchase. Well, is it about me? Is it not about me? I don't know. If it's not about me, I'm not into it.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to think about your story not as Uncle Bob at Thanksgiving dinner telling this story that you're like, what in the world? This man just keeps going on and on and on and on. You have to think about it as what is in it for the audience, and trying to make that super relatable in the way that you craft your story. And the way that I like to craft crisis stories, there's 4 parts. I like to first start off with setting the scene and the time and the place. So, for example, it was a hot summer day in 2003, but my hands were cold as ice. Ooh, I'm interested, right? You kick it off with something that is genuinely intriguing. The second thing is you would articulate the problem that caused the crisis and describe how it made you feel and describe why you didn't deserve to go through that, but it happened anyways. Then the third thing is you outline the 3 steps on how you resolve that problem and the outcome and the moral. So this is where you're being of most service to your audience. You're saying, I went through this, I did this thing, and here's how I got through it so you don't have to go through all of this. Or if you're going through all of this, I can give you a shortcut. Step 1, step 2, step 3 is how you get there. I did it, you can too. Right? Innate sense of authority and compassion coming out there. And then the 4th step is to relate it to the broader context, whether it's the broader presentation you're giving from stage, whether it's the broader project that you're leading. You relate it to the broader context so that they have a couple of times when they're being shown the so what. Using this framework, I created it and wrote some things. I tested it out. It sounds good to me. But the first time I gave it, it was actually very serendipitous. I had just created it, and someone asked me to give a 10-minute keynote. No slides, no nothing, just talk, almost like TED Talk style. And I said, I'm just going to give a crisis story. And I use step 1, 2, 3, 4. It's only 10 minutes. I can do this. I was so nervous. I never get nervous to talk on stage. Never. I love it. I love being on stage. Put a mic in front of me, I'm at home. But for this, it was like my own framework, which they didn't know. It was like no slides, just me, and all the doubts and limited. Can I even hold an audience's attention? Stupid stuff, right? I get on stage and I give this 10-minute keynote. It's at a women's luncheon. In 10 minutes, afterwards, I had 7 women come up to me in tears. Oh my gosh, that was so impactful. They were laughing. Other people were crying. I got business from them in 10 minutes. Is it because I'm just the best speaker ever? Obviously. But in addition to that, it's also because of the framework. If you can use a framework that intentionally pulls people in, it will make you an incredibly impactful speaker, an incredibly impactful narrator. You can use this type of framework at the opening of a project where you tell a story about how you got to that project and how you collectively as a team can move forward. Here are your next 3 steps. I've done this with people trying to do large-scale cultural change within companies and weaving together cultural narratives using crisis framework. So it has a lot of applications no matter where you are. Just try it out. Create a TikTok video where you use it and see what your results are and see what your comments are, right? It's low risk here. It's just you still talking. And if you need any more help, aleyaharris.com/crisis.
A perfect plug. I think that's really powerful to say this is the framework that works well. I know you're a good speaker because I've seen your testimonials from people saying hello. Also, I've seen you speak in smaller settings, and you are very powerful. So I think there's something to be said about being charismatic and having that magnetism from the stage that you naturally have. But people can learn that using this framework, using some of the speaking skills. Talk to me though about I love that you got business out of this. And I think this is where a lot of people stumble, where they're like, I have an idea, I have a talk, but how do I connect it to the service or the product that I'm trying to offer in a way that doesn't feel icky or salesy? And you mentioned it a little bit, like the why, but can you give me some of that selling from stage in a way that is kind to you as a speaker and to the audience as well? Give us some insight into that.
Absolutely. And actually, now that you mention it too, that talk, the full 10 minutes is on my website. If you aleyaharris.com/speaking, I think. Oh,
cool.
Yes.
We'll all go listen.
If you want to, if you want to go listen. I was just like, oh yeah, no, this doesn't just have to be like you taking my word for it. when you're on stage, I like to have problem to problem match. So when you're giving a signature talk, or any talk really, it should be either a one-to-one match the problem that your product and service solves, or should be the problem that your audience needs as a quick win to solve right before they're ready to solve the problem that your larger product or service solves, right? So let's say you're selling a hair loss drug that's like totally new and different. Well, the problem that people need to solve first, if they're losing their hair, they're experiencing alopecia and they don't want to be losing their hair anymore, is believing that there's something new that will actually work. Because there's so many other products. There's been Hair Club for Men and Rogaine for years, right? I have a mistrust problem. And I also probably have, it's a financial issue because those things are not cheap. So maybe your signature talk talks about different approaches, and maybe it's a sciencey-based talk or it's a mindset talk or whatever it is, but different approaches to believing that something new and great could work for you to solve your problem. And then you have something that solves that problem. So either it's a one-to-one match, or you have something that's saying, what does someone need to understand, know, or believe first in order to purchase my product or service? Then when you're on stage, just be good. That's horrible sounding advice. I get it. But some of the way that I get business is just by knowing my stuff and saying it with confidence and being infallible. And I do that through connecting and through channeling. So not everything is on my shoulders, but that's a great place to start with not being salesy. Because if you especially are a service-oriented business, what they are buying is you. So the best way to sell you is to present yourself well. Then within the structure of your talk, you also have mini closes. So in the beginning, you might open with a problem, or somewhere towards the beginning, have a problem section that you're saying, this is the problem that we're solving today. And you're like, and here's, if we're going to go through this whole talk, but if you really are just like, I need some more help, or I know that this is going to be a sticking point, go here and get this free thing. And then maybe later on, you're like, oh, this was really difficult. How's everybody doing with this? Well, if you feel really like this, it's a challenge, here's some other ways I can support you. So you start to pick up on the challenges as you go, and you name them and you talk about them with the understanding that it's not a secret that you're trying to make money. Let's take our swindler hat off. If someone's sitting in front of you in an audience, they know that somebody paid you to be there. Whether it's you paid you to be there and you're planning on trying to make money from them later, or the event organizer paid you to be there, somebody paid you to be there. This is not a volunteer situation. So they understand, or should understand, if depending on the organization that you're in, that you are here to help them solve a problem. The catch is to serve and then sell. I never sell buy from stage. I am as of much service as possible so that so it's a no-brainer to buy from me. If it's a webinar, for example, I don't have webinars that you're constantly sitting there for an hour. Are you actually going to tell me something I can use right now? No, I'm going to give you the whole kitchen sink, right? Here's everything that you can do. And then if you need help doing it, let's talk about it. So serve. So people feel equipped. They feel like they got something, and then you activate the natural feeling of reciprocity where they want to lean more into you. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, 100%. I do think, as people are looking at speaking and doing that, I do think there's always that disconnection. I like the problem to problem framework that you have, just to have people think through it. And because so many people waste their time, right? They get up on stage, they do the thing, they tell the great stories, and there's nothing. And they walk away really frustrated and they think speaking doesn't work for me. And so there's that as well, where you've got kind of the fear going into it, and then the fear of what if this doesn't all the way work? And so yes. I like this.
Well, then
this
all you're trying to do is prove yourself right. You're proving. I think that's such a funny place to be in, because really, you're just waiting for the first moment of failure so you can prove yourself right, so you don't have to do this thing anymore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Don't try to prove yourself right. If you really want to do it, you're not gonna be like, I don't know, Mel Robbins or Tony whatever Robbins in your first go round. That's just not what this looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But can you make oodles and oodles of money? Absolutely. Absolutely. And can you affect and change and impact the lives of hundreds, thousands of people? Absolutely. But you are going to have situations where you didn't like that talk, or you are going to have to do a talk where you don't get paid to do it. Like, let's be real. I don't lie to anybody that's coming to work with me as for me to train them. This is not a situation where you should quit your day job right away. Speaking is a difficult gig to get into, but if you do it correctly, there are more than enough speaking gigs out there for everybody to get.
Say more. Where should new people start if they're saying, okay, Aleya, I hear you. This sounds really good. I think I'd like to do it. I'm gonna use your crisis framework to come up with something. Where should people just start to build that muscle of speaking or pitching?
Well, besides joining Spark the Stage, which is my ideal situation for you, aleyaharris.com/spark. I said this to someone and I thought that I was being like not intentionally condescending, but I didn't know that people didn't do this. Just go and Google calls for speakers and a bunch pop up and submit yourself. It's funny because everyone that I've told that to, they're like, wait a minute, that's how it works? Yeah, that's how it works. I think they're like expecting to be chosen, like it's like American Idol or something, like they're just going to be found.
I saw your Instagram. You're so great. Please come talk to our women's conference.
I don't know. And I don't even think that people really have thought it through all the way themselves, truthfully, like how that this works. But you have to submit yourself for paid, for unpaid, especially if you're just getting started. You have to submit yourself. Yes, you can sign up for a speakers bureau, but unless you have a best-selling book or two, or you're a former Navy SEAL who is now a quadriplegic who still trains other Navy SEALs on how to swim across the Potomac, it's not happening for you like that.
That's very specific.
Right? I mean, it is like I challenge you, dear listener, to go to Speaker Bureau's website, and that's basically the people they have. Either they're already super famous, or they're like an Olympian, or they have some ridiculous like their crisis story is off the wall, and they're not necessarily even a good speaker, right?
Yeah.
They just have this. Well, shoot. I mean, I guess I kind of do want to hear what this person has to say because my God.
Yes.
And they go through that. It was usually I'm talking about resilience or leadership through the lens of their own life story. And I'm sure it's super powerful. I could bet that I would, if I go to one of their sessions, I'm bringing tissues because I'm crying. Because not that they're not valid, but unless that's you, my dear, no one's picking you out of the crowd like that. You're going to have to raise your hand, and you're going to have to raise it many, many, many times. So you Google calls for speakers. When you submit to the calls for speakers, you need a speaking topic that is hopefully related to what you sell. That's the first thing, right? Don't just, if you sell coaching, leadership coaching, don't have a speaking topic related to making handmade leather purses. Like, you have it very geared towards what you sell, the overview and 3 key takeaways. You have speaking video, that is gold. Even if you have to create the situation on your own, having some type of video is gold, and having some type of testimonial is gold. But even if you don't, you just submit. And if you want to submit to a place where you feel like you're a match, and where the people in the audience are either people that are going to buy from you later, or it's a paid opportunity and they're paying you. So if I go and I speak someplace and they pay me $15,000 to speak, but it's like to a corporate group, I'm really selling anything within that company, right? So I'll take my $15,000, I'll go kiss, bye-bye and be done. But if I'm going to go speak somewhere for $5,000 at an association, you better bet your buttons that that association is full of people I'm going to try to sell my speaking course to, because that $5,000 is not cutting it for me, right? So you have to be strategic about where you apply. But when you Google calls for speakers or call for speakers, you're going to see so many come up, and it will hopefully give you the thought of, oh my God, there are thousands of places I could apply to speak. Yes, there are. It is not hard to get on someone's stage. I promise you, it's not. It seems like it is, but it's not. You just have to put yourself out there. At a certain point in time, it is a little bit of a numbers game. If you get your packet ready to go, you have a VA do it for you, train them up, have them pop out 5-10 a day, you'll be on a stage in no time. It's not difficult.
Okay, say more. Let's talk about that, because I think this relates to the marketing piece that you're really good at. Talk to me about, what does that speaker packet need to look like? What's included? What's my website need? What kind of funnels do I need in place? Give me like what's worked well for you. I know it's maybe different for, different people's industries, but give me a quick overview of what you're seeing work really well right now.
For sure. So, and this now, before all of my website URL mentions were super self plugs. This one is illustrative, just to let you see what it looks like. So if you go to aleyaharris.com/media-kit, that's my media kit. And so you can use it as an example to create your own. So inside of my media kit, I have my one pager that has my main topic and mentioned my subtopics. I have testimonials. I have videos that I'm constantly adding to and updating, headshots, bio, AV requirements, brand colors, and I have a list of my favorite things, because when you start speaking, corporate organizers like to give you gifts. So I figured I would like to get gifts that I actually like. So I put them in the thing, and you'd be amazed at how many lovely gifts I've received that I actually like now.
That's so much better than here's a branded coffee cup.
Exactly.
Thank you for coming.
Exactly. So
we're going to link up all of Aleya. You're going to link up all your website stuff, but that's fantastic. Thank you for giving people an example. That's great.
that was an example. However, should you be someone who's booking speaking and you want to book me, I'm also open for that. But that is the example. So that's pretty much what you need to have. If you also go to my speaking website, aleyaharris.com/speaking, you scroll down, you'll see the overviews and the 3 key takeaways that I was talking about before for my main signature talk, and then the couple of, I think I have 3 other talks that are on there. Don't have too many talks. It makes you seem less professional. If you can have one, I have 4, which is like a lot. It's like a lot. Like I probably should take one of them off. But I keep getting, they each keep getting picked up. So I'm just like, well, I think we're going to leave it like this for right now. But that's a lot. A lot of speakers have 1 or 2. And so people think when they first get started, well, I'm going to put out all these topics so that people can choose. So that, no matter what, I'll always be palatable. That's bad marketing 101. You always want to niche down, whether you're niching to the audience that you're talking to, like you only talk to tech companies, for example, or you're niching down to what you talk about. So I talk about radically authentic storytelling, and I apply it in different ways, but that's how I talk about it. That's what I talk about. So I'm not going to have a talk. I can have a full-on 2-hour talk around how to build a marketing funnel, because I've been a marketer for 15 years. But that's not what I talk about, right? So it's not about all the things you can talk about. It's a thing that you want to become known for. When you pass away and people start reading things and talking about you, oh my God, yeah, that was the storyteller chick. They're not going to say, oh yeah, she was informatically authentic. They're not going to say your whole thing. That was a storyteller chick. Oh yeah, that was the one who really was good at like leadership. Or yeah, that was the one who helped all the tech people kumbaya with themselves, or whatever it is. You want to pick the topic that you want to become known for. So you have your media kit, which doesn't in the beginning need to be as robust as mine, but you do need your one pager. You do need a photo of yourself. You need a bio and hopefully a video. Even if you, for your very first speaking agent, paid, unpaid, doesn't matter. You take a tripod and you set your phone out and you get some video of you speaking, do it, because video is gold within the speaking world. Then you're applying to calls for speakers, you're reaching out to corporate event planners, you're also connecting with people on LinkedIn that have events, and you're looking up associations that are relative to what you're wanting to speak at, and you're applying and connecting with people to get on stages. When you're on stage, depending on where you're at, if you're in a room full of your ideal clients, as opposed to in a corporate room where you're already being paid to be there and you're not trying to convert them into your clients anymore, unless you're trying to sell them your book or something like that. If you're in a room full of your ideal clients, you need a lead magnet. A lead magnet is a piece of information that you give away for free in exchange for an email address. Email addresses are the currency of the internet and content marketing. Mm-hmm. So a lead magnet, when you're talking about, it could be a quiz, could be a PDF download, could be, I've done meditations before, video series, anything for free that is related to your topic and that will help, one, solve a quick problem for your audience, and two, help them get to know you, like you, and trust you better. Lead magnets do several other things, but those are the main things here. Mm-hmm. Put that into your presentation at least twice, at the beginning and at the end. And maybe if you can, somewhere in the middle without it seeming like awkward. And then you send a follow-up email to those people automatically that goes out. And then you're trying to convert them into the next step, whether it's to schedule a call with you, to buy a thing, to whatever it is. You're trying to convert them into the next step with a sales sequence. And if they don't convert, great. You're still emailing them once a week because now they're part of your email list after they're done with that sequence. So it really is all about making it work for you and getting paid whether you decide to receive money from the event organizer or not.
Mm. That's a great tip. And thank you for giving those very tactical marketing pieces, because I've gone to a lot of events and those things are not in place. And as a marketer, I always think you're missing out. And they've made it so easy now to get people to, text a number to get on the email list, whatever. I don't know how you do it for yours, but
text it, scan a QR code, go to a website. Yeah.
They've made it just so easy just to plug and play. So that follow-up piece is still gold. So I love that. That's amazing. I want to ask you one more quick question before we kind of wrap up, but to do this takes, in my opinion, having done a lot of inner work to get to that place of this is what I want to be known for. Is that true for you? Is that true for your students? Or did you just come out just like ready to go? Because I do think this is where a lot of people struggle. What do I become? What you were saying, like I've been a marketer for 15 years. But now what do I want to say? I'm going to define myself and my products in this next iteration of me coming on stage and doing that. Talk to me. Give me some of that.
Yeah. So no, I didn't pop out like, this is what I want to be known for. There are people like that. And God bless them. I'm like, how does that even happen? That was not me. And it's not any student I've ever worked with. So first of all, I want to give you the permission to give yourself some grace and realize that the only thing constant is change. And if you're really engaged and loving your life and moving through it, you are not in control. You are following the leading that life is giving you, constantly being confronted with opportunities that provide you contrasting options and choosing which one feels the best to you. And that could take you from now being an entrepreneur and business owner to in 15 years from now being a stay-at-home mom or dad, right? You don't know what that's going to be, but wherever it is great and is exactly what is supposed to happen. All we're trying to do is we use what do you want to be known for after you pass as a good guiding light, because as soon as you say that, you go, well, not the la thing. And so you're like, okay, great. So definitely don't do that thing. It's a tool to get you to understand what a hell yes is and a hell no is. And once you figure out what the yes is, then you start doing things that move yourself closer in that direction. And you start off with a signature talk that is about that thing. With my students, because it's the format of Spark the Stage, it's not one-on-one, even though they can hire me afterwards for one-on-one. It's a course. a lot of that work happens in the crisis story development, because pulling out crisis stories is within the first few modules of the course. And I guide them through looking through their past as a guide for their future, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if we're not talking to fresh babes here. You've had some years on you to be doing things. So taking a look back through the crisis you've gone through and saying, why do these types of crises keep coming up to me? Because there's sometimes you're just like, I just keep having roommates that steal money from me. This is a real one from another client. I was like, well, she said 7. I said 7. Like large. She said some like small amounts of money, some like large amounts of money. And I told her, I said, do you know how many roommates that I've had that have stolen money from me? 0. So there's something there. Diving, why is that happening? What is the lesson that you're missing? What is the lesson that you're supposed to learn so that you can teach? What have you learned through that 7 to make it not happen in BA? Right? Thinking about those types of things and taking a step back and being the observer of your life, the observer of your crises, rather than still holding and harboring them, allows you to unearth some of that purpose as to what you should be speaking about, what you should be known for. Because depending in that situation where the roommate was stealing, it could be that they should be known for financial security, or it could be that they're known for lack of boundaries. It could be that they're known for not knowing how to miss or not miss signals from people that are telling you that they are worth coming into your space or not. Depending on what the lesson is that they suss out from that, could be what they are known for, but it's not necessarily black and white, which goes back to what we were saying in the beginning of, why does someone need to hear this story from me? Mm-hmm. Well, the lesson that you learned might be very different than the lesson that somebody else learned. Mm-hmm. Might be very different than the lesson that you realize that you actually learned 5 years from now when you look back on the situation again. Mm-hmm. Everything is very unique and very purpose-driven if you allow it to be. Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think there's such a beautiful opportunity for speaking, because that is hard work. It's hard work to sit there with your own life and observe it and come out with those things and give yourself that space to do it. I think that's the work, but it is hard work. And then the next thing is to actually sit down and get yourself over that imposter syndrome of, why should anyone even listen to me? And then to go out and then actually speak on stage. To me, this area is ripe for people who are really willing to take some action, because this is a very small percentage of people that are going to want to be speakers at that level. In my opinion, Aleya, tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're wrong. And that's why the people that speak, because I'm not the only one, that people call it very different things, not the only one that has this type of style or this type of approach. If you look at the people that are making the most money in the speaking, a lot of them have a very similar style. But it's really about being able to understand when to do your goal setting. So in the course, more. I don't think that we do goal setting until, is it the last module or the module before the last one? And I should know my course better. Sorry. And I had one of our previous students say to me, well, why? Why didn't we do goal setting before? Because I would have known that this and this and this. And I said, because in the beginning, you were asking me questions. Should I even really be a speaker? I bought this, but I'm not sure. Does anybody want to have anything to tell me? Blah, blah, blah. Now that you have unearthed your crises, you built your messaging framework, you built your signature talk, you understand how to do for culture speakers. Now the question, and she had literally, I think, just asked me this, is like, well, should I charge 10,000 or 15,000? Because I'm just not sure what the number is. And da-da-da-da. I asked for goal setting when you're in the most confident place, right? Think about when you are setting your goals and how that context shapes what you feel like is possible for your life. If you're setting your goals in a down place, I mean, you sure set the goal to get out of that down place, but then reset them once you realize how much you are truly worth and how much you can truly impact people. By the time people are done with the course, they're like, oh no, I really have something here. And they're excited to share it versus, well, I mean, maybe I'll just do a panel. Maybe I'll just sit on a panel and hope they don't ask me any questions. Right? A different experience.
Yeah. What a thoughtful way to do that. Because I do think goal setting can either be very motivating for people or it can completely flatten people and be like, I literally don't know. I have so much. There's no clarity in my life. So that's cool. I like that. Big plugs for your course. Everyone go get it if you're really interested in being a speaker.
I am a natural marketer. It just happened. Amy.
You're a
It
natural
just
salesperson,
came out.
and I'm happy to promote it because I think it's great. Is there any like last piece of wisdom or a resource that you, over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of your life have really gone to that has been helpful that you could leave with everyone?
My favorite book, I would say of the moment, but I think I mean of all time, is Asked and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks. Asked and It Is Given by Abraham Hicks is a book that is written by Jerry and Esther Hicks as they channel the non-physical being or group of collective consciousness called Abraham. And it is a way of approaching life and constantly checking yourself so that you're staying within that flow, connected to your most radically authentic self, to spirit, to universe, to the part that manifests, so that you're always in a place where you feel more confident because you're always in a place knowing how supported and truly in control of your life experience you are. So that has helped me reframe a lot of perspective, do my own regal setting. And it's a book that I highly recommend to any and everybody.
That's beautiful. I do think that is the key, is once we know that we can co-create our own lives, it changes the game. And so thank you for leaving us with that. You're so beautiful.
Absolutely.
Tell everybody one more time where they can find you.
Are you
Instagram
sure?
and website and other. Yeah, we need to hear it one more time, Aleya.
One more time. You can go to aleyaharris.com and find all of the things. That's ALEYAHARRIS.com. I'm also Aleya Harris on Instagram. I hang out on Instagram, but I'm like a big deal on LinkedIn. So if you're on LinkedIn, follow me. Make sure you mention Amy's podcast, that we're actually friends and that you're not just like some rando trying to sell me SEO. Come on.
Gotta love LinkedIn for that. I love it.
Gotta love LinkedIn.
Aleya has a really great podcast as well. So go listen. It's The Flourishing Entrepreneur, correct? Yeah. Yes. I did an interview with Aleya. Oh my gosh, it's been like 4 years ago, but that was one of my favorite interviews. And I really love your podcast. It's great. So everyone go find and connect with Aleya on all those places. And if you listen to this podcast and it gave you something to think about, feel free to tag us both on Instagram because we'd love to hear it. So Aleya, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Business Origin Stories. Love the podcast? Be sure to share it with a friend or colleague and give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Join me on Instagram and make sure to sign up for our weekly email.